綺麗な乱れ歯。この具の目が何とも言えず綺麗。
Our big goal on this show is to cover how we can use science and tech to make the future better. And the reason that we do all of that is because we really believe that if people see those better futures, they can then help build them. So my goal here is to try my best to time travel with you into different moments in the future that you're trying to build and see what it looks like.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Starting with what you just announced. You recently said, surprisingly recently, that GPT-4 was the dumbest model any of us will ever have to use again. But GPT-4 can already perform better than 90% of humans at the SAT and the LSAT and the GRE, and it can pass coding exams and sommelier exams and medical licensing. Yeah. And now, you just launched GPT-5. What can GPT-5 do that GPT-4 can't?
First of all, one important takeaway is you can have an AI system that can do all those amazing things you just said, and it clearly does not replicate a lot of what humans are good at doing, which I think says something about the value of SAT tests or whatever else. But I think had you gone back to, if we were having this conversation the day of GPT-4 launch and we told you how GPT-4 did at those things, you were like, oh man, this is going to have huge impacts and some negative impacts on what it means for a bunch of jobs or what people are going to do. And, this is a bunch of positive impacts that you might have predicted that haven't yet come true. And so there's something about the way that these models are good that does not capture a lot of other things that we need people to do or care about people doing. And I suspect that same thing is going to happen again with GPT-5. People are going to be blown away by what it does. It's really good at a lot of things. And then they will find that they want it to do even more. People will use it for all sorts of incredible things. It will transform a lot of knowledge work, a lot of the way we learn, a lot of the way we create. But we, people, society, will co-evolve with it to expect more with better tools. So, yeah, I think this model is quite remarkable in many ways, quite limited in others. But the fact that for, 3-minute, 5-minute, 1-hour tasks that like an expert in a field could maybe do or maybe struggle with, that the fact that you have in your pocket one piece of software that can do all of these things is really amazing. I think this is unprecedented at any point in human history that a technology has improved this much, this fast, and the fact that we have this tool now, we're living through it and we're kind of adjusting step by step. But if we could go back in time 5 or 10 years and say this thing is coming, we would be like, probably not.
Let's assume that people haven't seen the headlines. What are the top line specific things that you're excited about? And also the things that you seem to be caveating, the things that maybe you won't expect it to do.
The thing that I am most excited about is this is a model for the first time where I feel like I can ask kind of any hard scientific or technical question and get a pretty good answer. And I'll give a fun example, actually. When I was in junior high, maybe it was 9th grade, I got a TI-83, this old graphing calculator. And I spent so long making this game called Snake. It's a very popular game with kids in my school. I was proud when it was done, but it was programming on TI-83 was extremely painful. It took a long time, and it was really hard to debug and whatever. And on a whim, with an early copy of GPT-5, I was like, I wonder if it can make a TI-83 style game of Snake. And of course it did that perfectly in 7 seconds. And then I was like, okay, am I supposed to be, with my 11-year-old self, think this was cool or miss something in the process? And I had 3 seconds of wondering oh, is this good or bad? And then I immediately said, actually, now I'm missing this game. I have this idea for a crazy new feature. Let me type it in. It implements it. And it just, the game live updates. And now I'm like, actually, I'd like it to look this way. Actually, I'd like to do this thing. And I had this this very kind of, this experience that reminded me of being 11 in programming again, where I was just now I want to try this. Now I have this idea. But I could do it so fast. And I could express ideas and try things and play with things in such real time. I was like, oh man, I was worried for a second about kids like missing the struggle of learning to program in this sort of Stone Age way. And now I'm just thrilled for them because the way that people will be able to create with these new tools, the speed with which you can sort of bring ideas to life, in that's pretty amazing. So this idea that GPT-5 can just not only like answer all these hard questions for you, but really create like on demand, almost instantaneous software. I think that's going to be one of the defining elements of the GPT-5 era in a way that did not exist with GPT-4.
As you're talking about that, I find myself thinking about a concept in weightlifting of time under tension.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, you can squat 100 pounds in 3 seconds, or you can squat 100 pounds in 30. You gain a lot more by squatting it in 30. And when I think about our creative process and when I've felt most like I've done my best work, it has required an enormous amount of
you have to sit there and struggle.
Time under tension. And I think that cognitive time under tension is so important. And it's ironic almost because these tools have taken enormous cognitive time under tension to develop. But in some ways, I do think people might say people are using them as a escape hatch for thinking in some ways. Maybe. Now, you might say, yeah, but we did that with the calculator and we just moved on to harder math problems. Do you feel like there's something different happening here? How do you think about this?
It's different. There are some people who are clearly using ChatGPT not to think. And there are some people who are using it to think more than they ever have before. I am hopeful that we will be able to build the tool in a way that encourages more people to stretch their brain with it a little more and be able to do more. And I think that, society is a competitive place. Like, if you give people new tools, in theory, maybe people just work less, but in practice, it seems like people work ever harder and the expectations of people just go up. So my guess is that, like other tools, some people, like other pieces of technology, some people will do more and some people will do less. But certainly for the people who want to use ChatGPT to increase their cognitive time under tension, they are really able to. And I take a lot of inspiration from what the top 5% of most engaged users do with ChatGPT. It's really amazing how much people are learning and doing and outputting.
So I've only had GPT-5 for a couple hours, so I've been playing.
What do you think so far?
I'm just learning how to interact with it. Part of the interesting thing is I feel like I just caught up on how to use GPT-4, and now I'm trying to learn how to use GPT-5. I'm curious what the specific tasks that you found most interesting are, because I imagine you've been using it for a while now.
I have been most impressed by the coding tasks. There's a lot of other things it's really good at, but this idea of the AI can write software for anything, and that means that you can express ideas in new ways, that the AI can do very advanced things. It can do, it can in some sense you could ask GPT-4 anything, but because GPT-5 is so good at programming, it feels like it can do anything. Of course it can't do things in the physical world, but it can get a computer to do very complex things. And software is this super powerful, way to control some stuff and actually do some things. So that for me has been the most striking. It's much better at writing. So this is there's this whole thing of AI slop, AI writes in this kind of quite annoying way. And
M dashes.
We still have the M dashes in GPT-5. A lot of people like the M dashes. But the writing quality of GPT-5 is gotten much better. We still have a long way to go. We want to improve it more, but a thing we've heard a lot from people inside of OpenAI is that, man, they started using GPT-5. They knew it was better on all the metrics, but there's this nuanced quality they can't quite articulate, but then when they have to go back to GPT-4 to test something, it feels terrible. And I don't know exactly what the cause of that is, but I suspect part of it is the writing feels so much more natural and better.
I, in preparation for this interview, reached out to a couple other leaders in AI and technology and gathered a couple questions for you.
Okay.
So this next question is from Stripe CEO Patrick Collison.
This will be a good one, I'm sure.
Try to read this verbatim. It's about the next stage, what comes after GPT-5. In which year do you think a large language model will make a significant scientific discovery? And what's missing such that it hasn't happened yet? He caveated here that we should leave math and special case models like AlphaFold aside. He's specifically asking about fully general purpose models like the GPT series.
I would say most people will agree that happens at some point over the next 2 years, but the definition of significant matters a lot. And so some people's significant might happen, in early 25, some people might maybe not until late 2026. Sorry, early 2026, maybe some people not until late 2027. But I would bet that by late 27, most people agree that there has been an AI-driven significant discovery. And the thing that I think is missing is just the kind of cognitive power of these models. A framework that one of the researchers said to me that I really liked is, a year ago, we could do well on like a basic high school math competition. Problems that might take a professional mathematician seconds to a few minutes. We very recently got an IMO gold medal. That is a crazy, difficult,
Could you explain what that means?
That's
for
kind
people?
of like the hardest competition math test. This is something that the very, very top slice of the world, many professional mathematicians wouldn't solve a single problem. And we scored at the top level. Now there are some humans that got an even higher score in the gold medal range, but we this is a crazy accomplishment. And each of these problems, it's like 6 problems over 9 hours, so hour and a half per problem for a great mathematician. So we've gone from a few seconds to a few minutes to an hour and a half. Maybe to prove a significant new mathematical theorem is like 1,000 hours of work for a top person in the world. So we've got to go from another significant gain. But if we look at our trajectory, we can say, okay, we're getting to that. We have a path to get to that time horizon. We just need to keep spinning the metals.
The long-term future that you've described is superintelligence. What does that actually mean? And how will we know when we've hit it?
If we had a system that could do better AI research than, say, the whole OpenAI research team, like if we said, okay, the best way we can use our GPUs is to let this AI decide what experiments we should run. Smarter than the whole brain trust of OpenAI. And if that same, to make a personal example, if that same system could do a better job running OpenAI than I could,